Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2025 Courageous Leadership Colloquium. I'm Kelly Corey. I am the Director of Graduate Programs here at the University of Olivet, and I am also someone who continually strives to be a courageous leader. And I'm so excited to be here with all of you today to learn how to continue to grow every day in our courage, our ability to be bold and step forward, bring people together to lead and create positive change in the world. So as we move through today, we will start with kind of an orientation to our entire day, so you know how our program is going to run. And then as we continue through the day, you'll meet lots of different speakers. Some of them will be presenting from around the world, some of them from here in our very own Kulasamba Theater. And so we are starting with this orientation that'll take us about 15 minutes, and then our first presenter, Mike Fales, will come rolling in at about 9:15. So during our 28 different sessions, as I said, we'll be broadcasting from around the world. You are welcome to pop in and out of sessions all day, both days. And also you're welcome to come to campus this afternoon, 5:15 to 8. We have some live sessions here as well. If you have questions during our sessions, you are welcome to type them into the question bar, and we will address those at the end of the sessions. And most of our presenters are going to leave us with time for Q&A. So definitely jot your questions down so that you're ready for that. If you are here on campus, you are welcome to come to the Rosnowski Learning Commons, which is in the basement of our Barrage Library, where we've got some snacks, we've got coffee, and we've got all kinds of neat munchies that you can stop in and grab, and you can sit in the Kulasamba Theater and watch our presentations in our live stream, or you can simply be comfortable wherever you are, and you can feel free to listen as a podcast or stay on the screen. Know that every session will be recorded separately, and we will have those posted on YouTube as well as in our leadership learning community in our Canvas learning system. So we will send an email out to everyone who has participated so that you know where to find those links once we have them posted. So also a couple things to think about. Tonight at 5:15, we will be having a live networking session that is hosted by the Keys Barber Benedict, or the KBB Scholars, and we are honoring the Keys, Barber, and Benedict Scholars themselves, the first three women to graduate, the first three graduates at Olivet College, who are all women, and so we're honoring them through our KBB Scholars program as well as through this networking session. Also, some live activities this afternoon, a live team challenge. So bring your team with you. We'll be doing some experiential learning, both about conversations, courageous conversations, as well as risk and reward. We've got some neat sessions about risk and reward throughout the 2 days. As I mentioned, we have a leadership learning community for those of us who have access to the Canvas system here at the University of Olivet, where you can engage in community conversations asynchronously. We've got discussion boards that focus on each one of the topics for each of our sessions, and our presenters are going to be able to have access to those as well. So after the session, or even during the session, if you want to jump into Canvas and type a question or a comment into those discussion forums, we would love to engage with you and keep the conversation going throughout the year, actually. And then we come back next year and we may even still have those conversations going. So jump into the leadership learning community. We've got lots of resources there as well about all aspects of leadership. As I said, we've got 28 different sessions of all different types of scholars, practitioners, students, faculty, and I'm sure that everyone will be able to connect with some really big ideas and take them out into the world. So we are the University of Olivet, deeply rooted in courageous leadership. We believe this deeply, and Mike Fales, our first presenter, is going to talk about the history of the University of Olivet and where we came from and how we ended up on the Hill. But before we get to that, it's important for us to really explore the idea of courageous leadership and what do we mean when we say courageous leadership. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time sharing some brand new research with you and some ideas about courageous leadership that I hope you will use to frame your understanding understanding of the sessions that you engage with today, and also to ask questions of yourself and your leadership practice about how can my leadership practice be more courageous. So first, let's start with the definition of leadership. Here at the University of Olivet, we have adopted and adapted a definition from Peter Northouse, who is the world's renowned leadership textbook author. He's got 10 editions of his leadership texts that are used in over 600 institutions. And so a lot of people buy into the definition, but we've changed it just a little. His is leadership is a process whereby an individual influences a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. We added a piece to that. That black box in the middle of this diagram sits on top of the interaction between leaders and followers. We know that both leaders and followers are deeply involved and engaged in the process. In order to be involved and engaged, they have to have knowledge, skills, and abilities that are specific and unique to that situation. And so our job at the University of Olivet, and your job as educators, as mentors, as people who are helping each other grow as leaders, is to help figure out what knowledge, skills, and abilities folks need and make sure that they can build their capacity to lead. So our definition is leadership is a process where an individual uses their knowledge, skills, and abilities to influence a group of individuals to achieve a common goal. So we're here today to fill that black box, and so that we all can continue to grow as courageous leaders. We also believe that leadership is, and this might make you scratch your head a little bit, leadership is ethically neutral. You might say, well, wait a minute, there's ethics involved in leadership. Yes, but the act of leadership itself, we can lead without it being ethically good or ethically bad. It's the practice of bringing people together toward a common goal. The ethics come in with how we define the goal and what our goal is. What do we want to accomplish? Is that ethical? And what tactics are we using to achieve that goal? Are we using ethical tactics that respect and value and protect everybody who's involved? So leadership, the practice, is ethically neutral. It's the goal and the tactics that we have to really evaluate when we're leading. Also, we believe here at Olivet that leadership is broadly accessible. We believe that nearly any human can lead as long as they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities that are appropriate for that task that they're leading or that situation they're leading in. So let's sit down and talk about what knowledge, skills, and abilities do folks need and how do we help them get those. And also the definition of leadership, there are thousands of definitions. They're contextually informed by many different theories. You'll learn about some of those theories today, but know that it's important to learn theory so we know how to frame our leadership practice. So now we know a little bit more about what is leadership. So now, what is courage? So I'm going to share really quickly a number of different definitions. It's mental or moral strength to venture, persevere, or withstand danger, fear, or difficulty. That's Webster. And then Nelson Mandela, it's not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. It's not someone who doesn't feel afraid, but someone who conquers that fear. So Richard Daft, in his leadership experience book, pushing beyond the comfort zone, asking for what you want, saying what you think, fighting for what you believe. Brene Brown, one of my all-time favorite leadership theorists. She's a sociologist by trade. We're going to learn about her today and throughout all of our leadership study. To choose what is good, right, and kind, even when it is hard or scary. Brene Brown, I forgot to put up the slide that said, we have a fantastic opportunity. Brene Brown just came out with a brand new book. It is a partner book to her Dare to Lead book. She is a courageous leadership theorist. We have 2 copies that we want to give away during the colloquium. And since everyone's online, I'm going to ask you to, if you are interested in winning a copy, email me, kcorey@uolivet.edu, and say, I'd like to be in the drawing for a book. And I will take all of those emails. I will make slips of paper with each of your names on them, and I will draw out tomorrow 2 winners of 2 books. So email me, and hopefully you can win that book. And finally, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., courage is an inner resolution to go forward despite obstacles. So these are some similar definitions. I'm going to share a definition with you that actually just showed up in my mailbox 2 weeks ago in the newest edition of the Harvard Business Review. And this definition was created by Ron J. Galati, and he's a professor of business at Harvard. And he did research with 4,700 companies and did 200 in-depth interviews with executives and frontline leaders to understand what courageous leadership is. His article is fantastic. We have Harvard Business Review in our library system, so track it down. It's a great article, or I can help you find it. The name of the article is "Now is the Time for Courage." So what Ron J says is courage is a willingness to take bold, risky action to serve a purpose that you perceive to be worthy, usually in the face of an abiding fear. So taking risky action, knowing that it's going to be scary. So as we think about what is courage, everybody doesn't have the same kind of courage. There are different types of courage. So there's biological courage, that stick-to-itiveness, that strength, that ability to withstand a lot of stress and physical challenges. Intellectual courage, being able to take it to the next level, think bigger and more deeply. Follower courage, being willing to follow, even when you're not sure where the group is going, and being willing to stay in that space that is kind of unsure. Moral courage, standing up for what's right and having a very strong moral framework. Creative courage, being willing to look at things differently, shifting paradigms, challenging the status quo. These are all different types of courage and aspects of courage that we can use to build our courageous leadership. So going back to this definition, Galati asked in his research, what's the key to becoming more courageous? And what he found is that leaders become more courageous through 5 strategies. The first is to create a positive narrative. So the stories we believe about ourselves and our situation are going to really frame how we navigate through. So he says, go risk hunting, go look for places where you're really going to challenge your thinking and challenge your leadership. Find a moral quest, something that you can really fight for with that ethical framework that you have, and call upon your faith when things get hard. Call upon your faith to get that extra level of support and belief that you can do it and you have strength behind you. So one of the strategies, create a positive narrative. Another strategy, cultivating confidence. He says that confidence comes from self-efficacy. And he actually quotes Albert Bandura, who is a psychologist from way back. And Bandura defined self-efficacy as what you believe you can do with what you have under a variety of circumstances. So believing in yourself. So the author of this article said, be confident, train for confidence, make sure you have the skills you need. That goes back to those KSAs in that black box. Assemble a large toolkit of the specific tactics and strategies you think you'll need to address the challenges that are going to be in those situations you're going to be in, and focus what's in your control. There's going to be a lot of noise, and there are going to be people that are going to tell you different things that really are going to have a lot of value as you're trying to lead through these difficult situations. Don't worry about those things. Focus on what you can control and what you can apply those tools in that toolkit to. Taking small steps is another one of those strategies. Evaluate things objectively. As you learn more about scary situations, messy situations, difficult, challenging situations, as you learn more, let meaning emerge and take that greater level of understanding to make even more intensive strategy. So continue to adapt your strategy to get better and better at addressing that situation. And so interpret things as you're moving through the challenge. And so this process is called sense making. And as you take these small steps into a messy situation, you get more and more clarity, and you get to become more and more effective in addressing and focusing your leadership skills. Next, find connection. Courage is a team sport, Galati suggests in his article. Turn to your allies, turn to your team. There are always going to be people around us hopefully we can count on. Invite other people to stand with you, If they have resources, accept those resources. Go out and tell people what challenges you're facing and what you're fighting for, and they will probably offer resources if they believe in that same thing. And also accept feedback. There are going to be folks that are on the team that are going to see things differently, that might give you some insight, that might help you to think about it differently and maybe think about it better. So when folks give you feedback, think about it thoughtfully and decide how you're going to apply that feedback to the situation. And then finally, stay calm. Practice self-care. We're going to learn about self-care today in our mindfulness session, and also kindness rituals. We're going to learn about reframing the situation, actually from some of our basketball players as they talk about gratitude. And what's fascinating in reading through this article and thinking about all of the things that we're going to be learning today, so many of them are intertwined, and they're all really looking at how do we become more courageous as leaders. So as we think about where we're going and what we're trying to achieve together as we participate in this Courageous Leadership Colloquium, know that at the University of Olivet, we believe that the future of humanity rests in the hands, hearts, and minds of those who will accept responsibility for themselves and others in an increasingly diverse society. So we are, in other words, we are responsible. And sometimes being responsible is very scary. And so I'm so excited that you're here together with our colleagues, with our friends, to build our skills, build our understanding of how to boldly step into these situations and accept responsibility and fight for the rights and the safety and just the well-being of everyone who is in our ecosystem. So I want you to ask yourself throughout the day, what's the future that you wish to create for yourself and the people in your ecosystem? What will it take to get there? Who else cares about this that you can call on to build that team of support? And what can you all do together that you can't do on your own? This is a framework that's put together by Hildy Gottlieb, and it's called Catalytic Thinking. Look it up. It's a fantastic framework for thinking together to create collective impact. So, as I said, we are rooted deeply in courageous leadership here at the University of Olivet, and we also are rooted deeply in lots of opportunities to continue to build our leadership. At the end of all of my presentations, if you're here, I'll talk about the leadership learning opportunities we have at UO. As the Director of Graduate Leadership, Graduate Business Programs, I'm happy to talk about the Master of Arts in Leadership and the MBA program here. We have graduate leadership certificates as well, and we have some fantastic undergraduate leadership development programs across campus, our Global Citizens Honors Program, as well as our President's Leadership Institute and the KBB Scholars, who we're so happy to have as partners today. So with that, thank you for joining me to get started. We're going to pop off and pop back on again so that we can bring Mike Fales to you to share with you the history, the courageous history of the University of Olivet. Thanks again for joining us. Look forward to learning with you.